Hello, friends. Do you have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRNradio.
Are you ready to reach for the stars? Tune in to The Lost Wanderer, the #1 monthly podcast on good pods in astronomy. Join our host, Jeff, as he takes you on an interstellar adventure to explore the mysteries of space and the wonders of science. From rocket launches and distant galaxies to the latest discoveries in astronomy, each episode is a thrilling ride through the cosmos. Don't just gaze at the stars, come explore the universe with us. Follow The Lost Wanderer wherever you get your podcasts, and let's discover the stars together.
Not to be a backseat driver, but can you say for sure you got the best monthly payment possible on your auto loan? Could it be that you might have gotten a better deal by shopping the loan at a few places and have a lower car payment? Next time, before you go car shopping, visit Communication Federal Credit Union first. Our auto loan experts will find you a perfect loan and get you the lowest monthly payment we can. Communication Federal, your auto loan experts. Restrictions apply. Federally insured by NCUA.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of The Cocktail Lounge. I am your hostess with the mostest, Aggie, and with me, as always, is the ever suave, affable, and quaffable co-host, Brad Slager. How are you doing this evening, Brad?
We are good. We are good. How is everything your way this weekend?
Well, I'm back at my mom's.
Yes. You're tending to family duties. I understand.
Yes.
Yes. Very flattered you could make time and availability for me.
Well, I feel kind of bad because I couldn't do the podcast last night. But then again, our beloved Jeff was still recuperating. So, we decided to just postpone it another month. But I managed, I did bring almost all of my stuff down here this time to be more comfortable. I packed 2 weeks worth of clothes instead of just one, like I did before. And I also packed, all of my tech devices, like my phone and my chargers, my tablet, my Kindle Fire so I could read, and the laptop so I can do the podcast. So, of course, I left all my actual fun stuff to do, all my cross stitching, all my painting stuff, everything I left behind. So I'm like rattling like a pea in a pod in here, but I'm
No
sure that
arts
mom
and
will put me to
crafts.
work tomorrow. Huh?
No arts and crafts then.
No arts and crafts. There's no Aggie's not being crafty this time around.
Well, I definitely appreciate the effort nonetheless. Did you get to celebrate the nation's birthday at all?
I did, but it was more subdued because we got rain in my part of the world. I live in Northeast Texas, and we had some showers come through. It wasn't too bad, not as bad as what has the catastrophic flooding that has happened in Central Texas. But they had to cancel. It was a little mom and pop thing, so it's not like rain or shine type of thing. So we mostly just hung out and communed with people at the bar and grill, and then went home. And then I watched it
Okay.
on TV.
Well done. Yeah, it's been a kind of a tragic weekend up your way.
Yes, it has
West
been.
of your location there. It was just kind of a gut punch to watch this play out. It was just really
A lot of people are really
impactful.
they really don't understand. And if you live in desert areas, you kind of do understand because it happens a lot in desert areas. But most people think that the central part of Texas is not desert, and it technically isn't desert, but the topography of central Texas is mostly limestone, caliche, and clay. And so there really isn't anywhere for the water to be absorbed or run off to. And as a result, we suffer from flash flooding. And if there is a flash flood warning given, those who are familiar with the areas take it very seriously and they avoid being near any kind of creek or river or stream for any amount of time until the warning is lifted. I did, there has been a lot of talk about what happened in Central Texas in the Kerrville, Hunt, Center Point region. And I'm aghast because there's been a lot of politicization of it. And I'm like, these are people that have never even, I doubt they have stepped foot in Texas, much less know how dangerous flash flooding can be. I have mentioned this to you before. One of my eldest daughter's friends lost his father, excuse me. They were kayaking on a creek in where she grew up, and near San Antonio, a flash flood warning was given, and he barely made it to the shore in time to get his son to start going up the bank before the waters took him. It's that fast. Compound that with their reports of a dam break, and this happened in the middle of the night, and there were warnings given, but you cannot predict how much water is going to be dumped, and you cannot predict where the water is going to run through. And it was really, amazing to me that there were so many people with so much misinformation and such vile political takes. And I cannot stress the word vile here,
Oh yeah, it's been really ugly, and to a degree, it's not that I tolerate it, but you kind of expect it, and you don't get overly bent out of shape with the anonymous randos on social media spreading this kind of nonsense. But I do have a huge problem when it's the media themselves trafficking in this.
not just the media trafficking it, but them asking a certain members of a certain party that serve in our government to actually confirm that media bias.
Yeah, and it's been just because of course this is what my focus is, covering the press. So I'm watching this play out over the weekend, and Juliet Kayyem from CNN just jumps out at me, but there were so many others that just got involved in the same thing, which was the automatic knee-jerk. Donald Trump's fault. He cut NOAA. He cut the weather service, and the reports didn't go out in time because of him. And it was just constant of that. And it didn't take long for me to ferret out what actually happened. The facts of the story. It's just pathetic how easy it was to get the details. And I'm not at CNN, MSNBC, although they're majors that have access to this information well before me. So first off, like you said, this was in the middle of the night, and there was a dam burst that added to this. At one point, the Guadalajara River crested
Guadalupe.
25 Guadalupe, excuse me. I knew I was going to butcher that
totally
too.
different place.
Yeah, whatever, they're both Mexican names, same thing.
Wow.
But the river crested like over 25 feet in about 45 minutes time. I mean, that is shocking. Okay. You go from, having some sort of residence or vehicle or such on a riverbank, and within half an hour, it's over your head and rushing. Okay. This is what took place. The notifications of flood possibilities went out at least 12 hours ahead of time. Flash flood warnings were put out 3 hours prior to the flash flood taking place. And like you said, the biggest impact of this is that it took place overnight, like at 1 o'clock in the morning or so. And how many people are actually awake to get those notifications? And it's,
I hate to say it because I can't confirm or anything like that, but speaking like my sisters, two of my sisters actually put their phones on do not disturb.
mm-hmm.
And they will actually mute the phone or whatever. So sometimes they wake up and they see, they look at their phone and they see that there was an emergency, an NWS emergency broadcast on the phone. And they're like, holy crap, I totally missed that. One of them actually slept through a possible tornado in the area because she put her phone on do not disturb. Now, it's supposed to ring anyway, but she also mutes the phone. So there's no ringing there, but you still get the message. The message would have come. But like I said, if they had gone through the problem of turning off their phone or, doing any of those things, they wouldn't have known. And so what a lot of people are not talking about is how many managed to evacuate, even at that point in the night. It was a massive evacuation still, even though there was tragic loss of life. And I believe there's over 160 people still missing. So,
this is far from over, but what's really burning me is this rush by the media to politicize this event. Case in point, you got Dana Bash at CNN. She's been spending 2 days talking about Trump's cuts and how the Republicans are behind this, and that Republicans aren't even able to politicize this because it's a red state, so they're not looking at this objectively. She's constantly going the political route on this. And somebody pulled up video of her from last year during the hurricane effects in North Carolina and their flooding. And there she is on camera saying, it is disturbing if anybody tries politicizing this. And she said that 2 weeks after the impact of the storm on those people. It was just disturbing as hell. And I'm, again, when I see the media doing this kind of thing, my first thing is not to react, but to research. So I start digging into it. I found a number of meteorologists in Texas saying these claims are incorrect. The alerts went out in proper time as they're supposed to. And then the Associated Press, of all things, put out a story that indicated that the weather service in central Texas was overstaffed for the
Yes.
storm, intentionally so because of the storm.
I actually
They-
confirmed that with a friend of mine who does work in the area, and she confirmed it for me. There were 5 people working there. This particular station is in New Braunfels, so it's very central to the area.
So they took all the appropriate steps. So the warnings did go out. The staffing was more than capable for this event and done so intentionally because they saw it coming. So all of these claims and all of this finger pointing accusation were complete horse crap. And this is from the press doing this. So they're feeding the misinformation and the outrage and the politicization of this sort of thing. And, I saw people talking about this is Trump's fault because he gutted FEMA. Well, FEMA's not even in play yet. This was on Saturday when the storm was taking place. Okay.
Believe it or not, FEMA has been mobilized. I actually saw FEMA trucks on the way down, the same highway that I took on the way to my folks. They were taking the same highway, which was I-35. And I saw FEMA trucks on the road. So for anybody saying that, that it's going to take a while for FEMA to get there, no, the FEMA was mobilized by Noam, I believe, Secretary Noam, as soon as she could do it. So I saw them Sunday. I saw the FEMA trucks on Sunday. That should tell you that this administration has actually taken this extremely seriously and has mobilized everything it can. And this is what really upset me. Well, this is what upsets me. You have people saying, well, you guys were complaining about the administration and what happened in with Hurricane Helene over Western North Carolina. It's like, no. This is totally different. The previous administration took it took its time trying to figure out what to do there. They did not mobilize a lot of stuff, and when they did, it was very paltry. The situation is completely different. We have a situation now where this administration has actually mobilized more than what was expected. And that should tell people a lot.
The complaints regarding what took place in North Carolina with Helene, for one, people were not screaming at Joe Biden over the weather event like they were this weekend. It shocked everybody when that storm flooded out North Carolina like it did. But nobody said, oh, Joe Biden's flood management or Joe Biden's response time. Nothing of the sort. The complaints about Biden administration and guarding FEMA were twofold. And that is, one, we're watching him pour tens of billions of dollars into Ukraine while dragging their heels in sending aid to North Carolina. And two, FEMA was found to be selectively helping residents when they had that scandal of anybody that has a Trump flag in the yard, we're just going to bypass them. And that was confirmed to have taken place. It wasn't wild accusations or baseless charges. That was confirmed.
Correct.
So those were problems that were pointed out. These were problems that the press was looking for. And when it came to Julia Kayyem, for instance, she was called out rather quickly. And she's like, hey, we're just asking questions. I don't know why you're attacking us. We're the experts trying to get to the bottom of this. Like, for one, what the hell made you an expert? I mean, I wasn't aware she was a meteorologist. She's a professor of various disciplines and shows up on CNN and other places. She has no basis of expertise in Central Texas weather systems, flood management, and response times. I'm sorry, Juliet. And she was being fed factual information as she spent 2 days complaining. And like myself and others, I sent her the AP headline, overstaffed. People were sending her notifications from meteorologists confirming the reports went out in a timely fashion. She's still denying things. And no, this administration dropped the ball. And this is the kind of crap I have to cover. People always say to me a lot of times, it's, we all know the media is corrupt. Why do you bother with this? We don't even listen to them. It's like, yes, but this is exactly the problem, this type of crap. When it's supposed to be helpful and factual information, instead they're ginning up hatred and division. during
All the
a
time.
natural disaster tragedy. I mean, it was as unseemly as it gets.
And it, you see all of the people saying, you know, um, they deserved it and all that stuff.
I think Aggie moved.
Did I lose you?
No, hold on, guys. My mom's here. Hold on. You can keep talking, Brad.
She's supposed to be in bed. But this is the exact thing I do when it comes to this kind of crap, is when the media performs in this fashion, in a despicable fashion, I rely on the facts. I go out and get the facts to point out where the errors are. Now, if they had legitimate complaints, let's say the administration did cut jobs and that's why notifications, I wouldn't be able to complain about it. Don't pick on Donald
Right.
Trump. That's all I'd be left with. So I don't. It's like, if you're right, then it stands. But in this case, no, you were blatantly incorrect. And
It amazes me to see even people in my home state who should know better try to politicize this.
but this is, and again, it's social media. So we're talking about 1.5% of the actual populace probably voicing stuff. But again, and that's when I say, when it's the randos on Twitter and the major accounts, or even that, fine, you expect it. The media, though, they have to be held accountable for this, because this is a time when you need proper mobilization of aid, rescue, and everything else. And here was the media actually doing things that would quite possibly negatively impact those rescue efforts to some degree. Whether it's something as simple as people not wanting to donate because that's Texas, that's a red state, that's Trump country, they're not getting my money. That's a legitimate reaction.
Mm-hmm.
So
what I did find kind of interesting? I have not heard from Beto. Have you seen him? Because I haven't.
No.
Normally, normally something like this happens and he's like right in the middle of it, like yelling at the governor to, do something. And I'm like, that's what he's doing. That's why he's giving the press conference. He's telling you what he's going to be doing. But I haven't seen him.
Well, that's a curiosity right there, is it not? He's usually rather mouthy, and I'm not talking about his bucktooth nature. I'm talking about the fact that he loves to draw attention to himself during these times. But yeah, this has been a really rough period for the press because of the way they behaved. And I'll say this, that CNN, I think it was on Monday, I was watching, actually, Boris Sanchez, I got to give him some credit, because he was out in the field, but approaching things from a very calm and direct fashion. He was talking about what is happening. He wasn't going hyper accusatory with anything. He was simply talking to officials. He was talking to some rescue people. He had a great interview with the one guy from the Coast Guard, if you caught that one.
Yes.
And
yes,
this is a guy that helped over 150 people, I think, and such. And this guy could not be more self-effacing. He was just, I kept telling the kids how heroic they were, and their behavior and the way they reacted to this disaster helped me rescue them. Just the way that and these are the kind of people you should highlight. People that do this kind of thing and do it in that fashion. I mean, he could not rave enough about the children that he rescued. That's amazing right there. You don't see too much of that these days, and we should see much more of it.
There were a lot of heroes that we will be hearing from or about as the recovery efforts continue. And I think that's going to be what's going to hurt the most, is that you're going to hear the stories of how selfless some of these people really were. And, when you realize, so many children passed away because they were campers at one of the camps, and everybody's like, why build a camp right next to the river? I'm like, have you ever been to a camp? Almost every single camp has aquatic activities.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's better to have it at a river than to upkeep a pool. So
Yeah, I saw them speaking to a girl that went to that camp when she was a kid, and she says one of the
I
biggest
actually went to
features.
I went to one of the camps in that area, and I also attended camps on the Frio River, literally called Camp Frio, and they're usually very near or on the river itself because of the aquatic activities that they will be teaching you. I learned, kayaking. I learned how to swim against the the flow of the river. Those kind of things that I'm very happy that I did learn, because you can't really learn that in a swimming pool. But and these are camps that have been there for decades. I believe the one that suffered most of the losses, Camp Mystic, had been there for almost 100 years. So this is, a lot of people is like, why did they build them there? I'm like, do y'all? It's almost that these people don't understand geography. They don't understand how a camp operates. They don't understand the activities that are associated with any camp. You even had somebody that was out of Houston, someone, an African American woman, actually perusing the pictures of the people that attended Camp Mystic. And she said, this is a whites only camp. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to have to say negatory on that, because I know several women, to include, people that I went to college with that are of different ethnic backgrounds that attended this camp. So, I mean,
Why would you
it's
even
just
go there? What is the purpose of that?
because for her, it was like, let's put it in context. And I'm like, the context is that these children died. That's the only
These are
context that you
children who
need.
died. All right.
They don't, nobody cares about their skin color. And for you to be caring about the skin color tells me a lot about you. And it told everybody a lot about this woman. So,
I mean, if it was
there
an
were,
all black children's camp that got wiped out, it's not any less of a tragedy.
no,
It
it
would be
wasn't the only
horrific.
camp affected. It was just the
Right.
one that was, that suffered the most losses. And,
And there's even a story from one of the counselors where he was actually in the process of rescuing. I think like a handful of the girls actually did get out safely
mhm,
because of his actions. And then he went back to help and ended up perishing along with them.
yes.
I mean, that's
And
just a kind of story that needs to be
one
told,
of the
not
counselors
counting how
rescued,
many white people were there.
yeah, one of the counselors actually managed to get all of her 14 chargers out, and
Mhm.
unfortunately she perished. And it's stories like this that are going to be coming out in the coming days, that as much as the heart of humanity is going to be hurting, it's going to be restoring its faith too. So, it's for me to see people actually saying, well, this is MAGA country, they deserved it. I'm completely appalled. Asheville, North Carolina, it was a beautiful city when I first visited. I've been there a few times. It's very eclectic. It is not by any means MAGA country. I would never wish any ill on anybody that lived there, regardless of how they voted and how they feel about the current president or the past one. It's not something that people who don't have uh, mental illness, for lack of a better term, would even think about. Normal people aren't programmed for that when it comes to
Okay, look at
natural
it this way.
disaster.
When we saw the California wildfires taking place, you didn't hear people on the right saying, nah, that's all liberal California. That's Hollywood leftists. So these screw them. Let them burn.
No, I actually, believe it or not, I extended an invitation to Sarah Miller Woods. I told her, hey, we have a guest cabin. If you need a place to stay, admittedly, we're a little far away, but you guys are more than welcome to stay here. And I had completely forgotten that she's married to James Woods. Okay. It just kind of, I was like, oh shit, I just talked to James Woods' wife. But for me, it was, she was Millerita. We followed each other for, since I got on the platform. So it didn't dawn on me. But And I told her, I was like, if you know anybody that needs a place to stay, please extend the invitation from us. I was more than willing. I was like an hour away from getting in my car and going to Academy and just getting a bunch of tents and sleeping bags and everything to put on my property for people, just in case they needed a place to stay. And these people are in California. And you cannot tell me that all of them, are voting Republican, because that's not true. So I was willing to open up my home regardless of how people voted. And it's, my parents have done the same thing.
But there was no no attack on the residents of this fashion. People weren't saying, you left us around. The complaints that I did see and even participate in a little bit involved management and how water systems were impeded, where the fire departments couldn't even battle the blaze. And I remember there was a local broadcast, I think it was KTLA, and the anchor even said, okay, there's been reports of fire hydrants not operational, and these are completely bogus. Let's throw it to our person in the field. And the reporter said, the firefighters here can't fight this fire because the hydrants aren't working. I mean, that's what was being pointed out on people from our side, is that, that's a problem. And you've got aquifers, holding basins for massive amounts of water that were offline in that area at the time. Why? Okay, that's when you start asking questions, not, well, he screwed up and this is his fault. It's like, wait a second, why was the water off?
Those were questions that were very difficult to find the answers to. I mean, you have to do a lot of digging.
Because the very same people accusing Donald Trump within hours were the ones shutting down those stories earlier this year. Oh, how dare you? That's why are you politicizing? It's like, no, we're asking, where the hell's the water?
I've actually seen somebody saying that this is Trump's Katrina. And I'm going, no, this is not Trump's Katrina. Just like this wasn't Bush's Katrina. Katrina was its own thing. And then you cannot lay the fault at the feet of the president when the governor has the last say so. This is why it really pisses me off when the whole Hurricane Maria happened and President Trump went to Puerto Rico. It's almost as if people think the president can do whatever he wants in a territory, and actually it's the opposite. He can't do whatever he wants in a territory. He has to ask permission. And then if he's granted permission to visit, he can only visit the areas that the governor allows him to be at. So that's why you only saw him at a golf course, because that was the only clean area. And it was really bad optics for Trump. But those of us in the know knew that this was all done by the governor, because the governor didn't like Trump, and neither did the mayor of San Juan. So eventually, that came back to bite them all in the ass, and it was pretty glorious telenovela, but that's the story for another time.
Well, speaking of Puerto Rico, a little bit of a sports update from the weekend, I believe. I don't know. I saw some video of you like dancing around in a circle for some reason and draping a flag on your shoulders. It was like, wait, this is the 4th of July. What are you doing with the what?
I did no such thing. I did dance a little bit, but as y'all know, Puerto Rico really relishes 3 major sports: boxing, baseball, and basketball. Baseball being probably just a little under boxing. Basketball's a distant third, but still those are the top 3. But when it comes to baseball, Puerto Ricans just love the sport. One of the reasons being is that it's relatively inexpensive to play when you're young. You need a stick and a ball, and then a bunch of friends, and you have a baseball team. Okay. And that's pretty much how we played it when we were little. But, and you know that we, as a country, we have bred a lot of baseball players. And as y'all know, I still have my favorite, even though he passed away in 1973. So this has been like a big deal. The women's softball team for Puerto Rico beat the women's softball team of the United States to go to the finals against Japan. And this is big because U.S. has always been a powerhouse in softball. They always have been. Puerto Rico did not really take on softball until, a lot later than the Americans did. They just thought it was kind of weird because they're used to the pitching overhand instead of throwing underhand or whatever it is. The various differences, but they do have a team, and the team has always been pretty good, especially when we play for the Latin American teams. We do the Pan American Games, that kind of thing. But U.S. has always been the powerhouse, and our team, Puerto Rico. I'm going to embrace it. Puerto Rico thought going in that this was going to be the end of their road and that U.S. was going to beat them and go on to the finals. And they were very proud of the fact that they got to the semifinals. Okay. So they clinched it. And I was watching the last few minutes of that particular game, and they actually shut them out 4-0. It was unbelievable. You could see the disgust in the Americans team's faces because they could not believe that they lost. And you could see the disbelief in the Puerto Rican faces because they couldn't believe they won. So this is going to be an interesting matchup because Japan was actually an underdog as well, as I understand it. They didn't think they were going to make it. Again, Japan embraces baseball, but softball has always been kind of a iffy thing for them, just like it was in Puerto Rico. So this should be a fun series to watch. The women's softball World Series should be kind of fun.
Yeah, so is this under 15? Is that what I understand? The World Cup?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Because they keep saying U15, so I'm wondering if it's like the softball equivalent of the Little League World Series. I'm just...
No, I know. This is women's softball, so...
No, I know it is, but anytime I've seen notifications on it, it's, the World Softball Cup U15, so that's what I'm wondering if that's...
Yeah, I would guess so, yeah.
So it's kind of like the Little League World Series, but for women's softball. But of course, this raises my question: I thought like Puerto Ricans were Americans. What's going on there?
Well, that's one of the little perks that territories have as well. We may not have all the perks that come with being a solid U.S. citizen, but that's one of them. You can either choose to play for the American team, or you can choose to play for the territories. That's why Puerto Rico sends various teams to the Olympics, to the Summer Olympics every year.
I'm just saying, if they had played for the appropriate team, then the United States would have won this.
Well, I don't know.
Honestly, I didn't even know this was going on until you sent me video.
Well, I remember
there was and it was like, screw you, USA. And I was like, what did I do to you? And then you had to let me know about this. And I was like, okay, that was going on.
Well, I don't know if anybody remembers this. This was back in late 70s, early 80s. There was a really good natalist swimmer by the name of Cheyenne Masayo. He was Puerto Rican, and he won all sorts of medals at the Pan Am Games when they were hosted in Puerto Rico in 78, 79, somewhere about there. And so when it came time for the Summer Olympics, he actually chose to be on the American team, and Puerto Rico was devastated. They were freaked out. Well, then what happened in 1980? The boycott. And U.S. did not send any delegations to the Olympic Games. So he decided to go with the Puerto Ricans, but the Puerto Ricans said, nope, you left us. How dare you? So he ended up not swimming, and Puerto Rico ended up losing. they had a chance if they had taken him back, but they didn't. And so he was like, fine, I'll just vote to 1984. And he did. And he won a couple of bronze medals or something.
Got it. I'm just going to say, though, I didn't appreciate getting those texts from you. And it was like, aha, suck it, gringo. And I was like, what did I do? I didn't, what? And then she's sending me the scores. And I was just like, what is this? This is an acronym 15. I have no idea what's going on here. But I'm kidding. It's cool as hell seeing.
I'm taking notes.
Great.
Oh, yeah? We'll see about that. Okay.
It's like, wow, it's my birthday. I haven't heard from Maggie yet. And then it'll be an email. July 8th, if you recall. ...
What are you talking about? I've been shopping for your birthday already.
I might have something picked out as well. Just saying.
It's a contest, y'all. It's always a contest between me and Brad. So, but that's not the only sports news that we have, is it?
No, actually, speaking of softball, let's move over to hardball, i.e. baseball. July 1st took place. I hope everybody celebrated appropriately for the pre-holiday, which is Bobby Bonilla Day. And if you're unfamiliar with the significance of this particular holiday, it is a baseball-centric one, but it is it's damned hilarious nonetheless. So in Major League Baseball, this is one of the most screwed up and yet celebrated professional contracts to ever come across.
Yeah, I was blown away when you explained this to me.
So if you're even scratching your head and saying, who the hell's Bobby Bonilla, Major League Baseball? What? He last played the game in 2001. Okay. Now, this is a player who was pretty significant at his time. I mean, he was a 6-time All-Star, World Series champion in a number of teams and things. I mean, just, very, very respectable player in his time. So, since then, basically he won the World Series with the Florida Marlins, and then they just dismantled the entire team in the offseason. It was one of the more embarrassing things to take place. Basically, they bought a bunch of free agents for a couple of seasons, built up a powerhouse, won the World Series, and then the ownership was like, we're losing our ass, and sold off basically anybody and everybody. Unlike the Florida Panthers, by the way, who are champions and maintaining the team and building up a dynasty. Just a little segue there. Cats fan that I am. So basically, the Marlins got rid of him, dumped him. I think he went to Colorado, and then Colorado traded him to the Mets and took on, which at
Dodgers.
the time was a pretty. Oh, yeah, that's right. Dodgers and then Colorado and then the Mets, I think is the way it worked.
No, I don't think he played for the Colorado at all, but I don't know. But I know he played for the Dodgers.
Okay. I mean, he basically bounced after the World Series through a few teams. And by the time he got to the Mets, they absorbed a pretty significant contract in its day for like $6-7 million a year. And wasn't playing up to par. Let's just say that. And the Mets basically said, you know what? He played maybe 60 games for them, and he was below 200 batting average, and they were like, holy crap, we're sinking a ton of money into this guy. So they said this: we're going to release you, but instead of paying out your contract balance to the tune of like $6 or $7 million, if you defer it for 10 years, we'll start making payments on your contract on an annual basis with an 8% interest rate on the balance, compounded. And so Bonilla and his agent strokes their chin together and said, okay, interesting. Yeah, we'll go with that.
They did.
So understand, they owe him a crap ton of money. deferred it for a decade, let the interest build up on it and accrue. And since 2011, they've been paying off this balance to the tune of over $1 million.
You had a power flash.
The what?
Right now they're back.
What?
Oh, were we
were
offline
gone?
for a while?
Yeah, we had a power flash. It was off for like about 30 seconds or so, but we're back now.
Oh.
Okay.
So you may want to.
I'm just saying, I wonder how
retweet
much
about
we
the whole-
lost here. So basically,
I don't
just
know,
a recap.
Technically, you guys are in the cloud, so they may still have been able to hear you. So you may want to ask them what the last thing is they heard, just so you know. I just know I couldn't find you for like 30 seconds or so, but I got you now.
Oh, okay then. Well, basically, the Mets are on the hook to Bobby Bonilla with an annual payout of $1.19 million pay at every July 1st, beginning in 2011. And because of the buildup and the interest and what they owe, this payment is continuing until the year 2035.
It's so beautiful.
So this guy is going to be collecting $1 million a year until he is of the age of 72. Again, he has not played baseball for over 20 years and is still cashing a monumental baseball check. I mean, and it's to the point now where like it's just a punchline across baseball. Like if you follow the game to any degree,
so for 24 years, right? He's going to be collecting a paycheck.
He has been and has another 11 to go, or another decade of payments to go yet. This again is over the Mets deferring a $6 to $7 million payout. So they've already been paying on this for 15 years and they have 10 more to go. It's just amazing.
I can't. I mean, I'm like, I understand that they did the math and they calculated that this was easier to do. But I'm like, I don't think they did the math correctly.
Yeah, it's like who thought it was? And the thing is, they management has changed, like ownership has changed, all of it. Like anybody that was connected with making the original deal were pretty much gone when the payment structure kicked in 2011 to begin with.
So they kicked the can down the road, basically, is what you're saying. And now the Mets organization has to.
It's more like they kicked the can down a ski resort mountain and the snowball is barreling towards the clubhouse. It's just hilarious that they did this. And the only other contract I can think of that comes close to this is in the NHL. And this involves a goalie by the name of Rick DiPietro. Now, in the NHL, it's kind of a screwy thing when it comes to drafting young players, that you rarely see a goalie being selected in the early rounds. Like a goalie being picked in the first round of the draft is very rare. And it's because for whatever reason, it takes a good 5 to 7 years usually for a goalie to develop properly into NHL caliber. I mean, maybe not that long, but you don't usually draft a goalie and he starts in the NHL. It just hardly ever happens. I mean, decades ago, the Panthers got involved with Roberto Luongo. He was initially picked by the Islanders and started with the Panthers in about year 1 or 2 with them. And he was pretty much a great goalie right out of the gate. Very rare for that to happen, though. And so the Islanders selected Rick DiPietro from the USA development squad, and they dumped him a $60 million 15-year contract. And everybody at the time said, yeah, he's supposed to be great, but what the hell are you doing? He's a goalie. What? And He incurred a number of injuries and was pretty much out of the game in about 3 to 4 seasons. To this day, he's still collecting on that contract to the tune of over $1 million too. I think he's got about 4 years left on that one.
That's a nice nest egg.
Yeah, not bad for not working.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so basically he too had a buyout where he was going to get $1.5 million for 16 years. Just it's kind of staggering at times to see this. And yeah, he's been out of the game for a very long time. So I think they drafted him. They actually, it was 2006 when they got him.
Well, he did.
So
He gambled and won.
He had no reason at all not to sign that contract as a rookie. $60 million assured, just coming out of the game. As a goalie. That's the amazing part.
Well, that's not the only bit of insanity that's going on. I don't know what it is about my state that everything just decided to start happening here. And for those of you who don't know, I was raised in the Rio Grande Valley, and very, very close to the border of South Texas. And we had an incident here yesterday that was quite alarming, not just for what happened, but in the area that it happened. And this was not the only incident that happened in Texas that was alarming. In the town of, well, they say Alvarado on TV, but it's Alvarado. And there's an ICE detention facility there. There was a group of about 10 individuals who took it upon themselves to actually try to do the same thing that the Coeur d'Alene, Idaho nut job did, which was, he set fire to try to draw the first responders out, and then he started picking them off. And tragically, 2 firefighters died in that horrific act of terrorism. But this one, they used fireworks to draw them out. And luckily, only one person was hurt, but he's since been released from the hospital. He was shot in the neck. And what I found alarming was where these people were from. They all lived in Texas, but you had 2 from Dallas. I want to say 1, 2, 3 from Fort Worth, 3 from Dallas, 3 from Fort Worth. They had 1 from College Station, 1 from Waxahachie, 1 from Kennedale, and I'm still trying to figure out how it is that these people were kind of spread far apart. And admittedly, Dallas, DFW is a metroplex, but it's not like it's next door to each other. It literally takes you 2.5 hours to travel from the center of one to the center of the other. It's huge.
Yeah, I've
the
done
whole area is huge. Yeah, you've done it several times, and you still have to, haven't stopped by to say hello to me, but I'm not bitter. Anyway,
I tried.
I know you tried. But Waxahachie is not too far, but College Station isn't that close, and Kennedale isn't that close either. So the proximity of these people actually kind of made me think that this was all organized online. It was people that just got together online and then decided to get together and start doing this specific act of terrorism against an ICE detention facility and the people who work there. That's what alarmed me. The fact that they were not they were not a group that lived in the same area. They all lived pretty separate from each other. Some people would argue, Waxahachie is not that far from Fort Worth. It still takes about an hour to get to Fort Worth. And for some people who live in, say, something like New Jersey, an hour is quite a bit of driving. It isn't in Texas, but it is over there. So it's not like it's in Texas terms, it's not far. But when you think about the logistics of planning all of this and everything, it is kind of a little far. So my guess is that these people actually got together in some kind of forum, and this is how they came about. And I'm just starting to wonder, they were using the same tactic that the Coeur d'Alene terrorists used and the ones in Oregon used. And I'm starting to wonder, what do they have in common? And I'm sure that the FBI and all of the agencies are actually looking into the commonalities, but sometimes the commonalities will not be apparent to a lot of people. The one here in McAllen was the one that was freaking me out, because this guy just shows up. He's actually a resident of Michigan. His car still had Michigan plates, but he was living in Weslaco. And Weslaco, even though it's not next door to McAllen, it's close enough. It's not too far. And he just got in his car, which had some kind of Latin graffiti. I forgot what the terms were, on either side, and drove there and decided to make a commotion and try to kill Border Patrol agents. This was at the Customs and Border Enforcement facility. And I don't think that a lot of people understand that when something like that happens in an area like McAllen, that's just like you're pissing off the cartel in Mexico. It's bad enough that this area of Texas has to deal with cartel activity all the time. Whether it's subtle, like somebody from the cartel actually has come across the border because they do have paperwork to come in for some, legitimate reason, and they do something nefarious very subtly and then they leave, or whether it's active, like somebody actually shooting across the Rio Grande to try and hit one of the Border Patrol agents, which has happened. Contrary to what you hear in the media, that actually has happened quite a bit. And for it to happen by the Customs and Border Enforcement agency area, that's just pissing people off. And I don't think they understand. McAllen is not this whole place went red for the first time in 150 years 2 years ago. It had been solid blue until then, but I think now they're tired. And now you're trying to piss in this pool. I don't think this is gonna go well.
Well,
I
did
just don't
they
think that people are thinking
determine
about it correctly.
that these attackers were Antifa?
I believe the ones from the ICE detention facility up in Alvarado were. That area, they did have the flags. They did have all the sayings that are common in the Antifa circles. And of course, they had the flag that fight the oligarchy, fight down with fascism, whatever. They had those flags. What I did find interesting is that there were 3 men who identified as women in that group. And that's a big tell. It's starting to be a very big tell, isn't it?
Well, this is
at
something
first I
I
thought it
pointed
was
out.
2.
In the wake of these attacks, where they're specifically targeting ICE or Border Patrol facilities, where's the outrage in the media? Like we saw with what took place in Minnesota with the attack on the politicians, like, oh, all of this outrage coming from the right and this political violence and this and this. Nothing. There's no complaint about these attacks taking place. Why? Because all of the animosity is coming from the press. So they can't complain about themselves.
They can't complain about it because they're the ones stoking that fire. You have people like Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez standing up there. We must fight the oligarchy, and Bernie and Jayapal and all of these extreme left-wing politicians who are always screaming about we need to fight, for democracy. And I'm like, you're not. This is not a fight for democracy. And this is the
Well, it's become
absolute irony of it.
yeah, it's become like a dark punchline now. But Donny O'Sullivan over at CNN, he's their extremism correspondent, as he kind of addresses himself.
Really?
Oh yeah, he's the one. His favorite tactic was to go to Donald Trump rallies and start interviewing people in the crowd, and it's one of those deals where he would talk to like 60 people and he would get a couple of wingnuts saying some bat crap crazy stuff on camera, and that would be the only ones who make the air. And
of course,
and becomes emblematic. Oh, these are the kind of people that are at these rallies. Well, he's and he's going after Mike Lindell and things of this nature, but he says he had a special about a month or so ago on CNN Sunday night, prime time, all about extremism in America. And to promote it, he came on one of the shows a day or two earlier and said he has hardly any examples that he can find of extremism on the left. And people on the right had to burst out laughing at this. This was like after the people had been murdered at the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C., and a number of other examples of leftist violence that had blatantly just taken place within weeks. I can't find anything. It's a mystery. I can't seem to locate these. And then we, like a week or two after that special, we had the guy in Boulder, Colorado, throwing Molotov cocktails at pro-Israeli protests, organized.
Yeah, and a woman ended up dying from that attack.
He sat down with Taylor Lorenz, of all people, who the two of them giggling on camera about her swooning over the guy that murdered the CEO from United Healthcare. Women just think he's so fabulous. And it's like, why can't they find a guy with this level of dedication? Oh, it's just, this is what women want.
Yes, women all want murderers. I see that every single time. No, the only reason that we watch shows like Snap and Forensic Files, it's to point out the idiots.
But this was the psychotically imbalanced version of falling for the bad guy. Who bad boys are just so much fun. He just murdered somebody. I know, but he's kind of cute, right?
I do not find him to be attractive. I don't understand why women do.
OMG.
But you know me, I'm just studying the skull, the skull, the facial structure. To me, it's just, it doesn't die.
Yeah, he has this interview with her where they just swoon over a murderer, but he can't find any political violence on the left. And then the firebombing in Boulder takes place. He flies out to Colorado immediately to go to Denver to cover Mike Lindell's trial instead, because I've seen no examples of leftist violence anywhere in Colorado. It's a mystery. It doesn't seem to. This is the kind of bullshit that goes on. But
I saw some guy saying, that show me an example where the left wanted to put you in internment camps because of the vaccine. And of course, people were putting examples of even worse things. And he would come back with, yeah, it's still not an internment camp. But I'm like, but it's worse. It's literally calling for death. Okay. They want us to die.
Yeah. If they assassinate people, they're not in a camp. So your point is moot.
In a camp. So your point is moot. Yeah, I know. Right. It's like, and but he got fact checked. Somebody said Australia did do this. The entirety of Australia put people in camps who would not get vaccinated. And there were,
how
he
about
actually
China?
called them out liars. China did too.
China was welding people in their condos.
Yeah, Mongolia, I believe, did the same thing. So I'm just like, you're not, and of course,
Exactly. I just wrote about it today in my column too, where it was hilarious to see The Atlantic come out with a think piece where they were complaining about ICE agents wearing face masks when they go and apprehend illegal immigrants.
Oh, guess what? Federales do too. Did you know that? Federales in Mexico wear masks and gloves. They not only wear masks, they also wear gloves. Why? Because the cartels could identify them and go after them and their families.
Yeah.
So don't tell me
But-
that this is, but it's okay for, everybody calling for an intifada, a global intifada. They can wear their masks. Oh, it's a health
Sure.
concern. Yeah, go eat shit.
Yeah, if Antifa has riots taking place and they cover their face masks, hey, there's free expression. Okay, and what about all of the campus protests where they're wearing the kefias over their face like a gator? Oh no, that's it perfectly. That's free expression. You can't complain about it. And then you wanted to arrest people 5 years ago if they didn't wear a mask in public to go to Home Depot. But now if authorities arresting criminals wear a mask, that's a problem. This is where our media is. It's
No, they want the ICE agents to be shown so that the ICE agents are, targeted.
yeah, their families can be threatened, they could be swatted, all of this can take place. Any other time though, people on the left committing crimes, it's okay for them to wear a mask, but law enforcement preventing crime needs to be fully on display. And they want us to take them seriously. Just okay.
Yeah, I saw where they went into MacArthur Park over in LA and Karen Bass went absolutely insane. She was screaming.
I mean, the funny thing is she came out and made the demands, and I just called the federal agencies and told them to suspend their activity. And basically Tom Homan and the others responded by rubbing the top of her head. Aren't you precious?
Be gone. You have no power here.
They did not give two shits about her. Like, I'm calling for you to suspend this. It's like, it could have been a collect call. I'd only laugh even more. I mean, they didn't care at all. You don't understand jurisdiction on these matters, ma'am. Well, there's been a lot of talk. This is a ham-fisted segue here about making Canada our 51st state. Got a story here where we may want to rethink that just a little bit.
I don't want Canada to be the 51st state. I just want Alberta to be the 51st state. The rest of Canada can keep Canada.
I mean, granted, that's where the Oilers are at, but, I'm over it.
They're not. They're never going to be over it.
No, they are not. They're a little.
I'm surprised.
testy.
I will say this. I'm surprised that you did not post the meme that I sent you.
I'm to the point now where it's like they've suffered enough.
No, they don't. They have not suffered enough. They will never suffer enough.
Oh no, they are literally this close to seppuku, self-immolation, and defenestration all in the same motion. So it's like, yeah, I think they're okay. I mean,
I know. Then this one can push it. I don't understand why you're saying, okay, enough.
Because I'm not a hateful man. I mean, I'm resentful, but I'm not hateful. So that's the way that works.
Fine.
But this one comes out of British Columbia. A furniture store has been ruled in court to pay damages to a Canadian couple who had purchased an extensive sofa set ensemble for their home. They were ordered to pay damages to the couple who bought this, modular unit for their home. This would be Donna and Thomas Dobko. They filed a claim against the business by the name of Muse and Merchant, which is in Coquitlam, where they bought the sofa, as well as a pair of ottomans back in November of 23. They went back to the store to complain, however, because of the quality of the furniture. They found it displeasing. They wanted to, this was after 7 months, mind you, but they were suing the store because they had to fluff the seat cushions on occasion.
So what you're saying is they needed fluffers.
They went back to the store and complained about this after 7 months.
7 months?
You know, we noticed that our seat cushions are getting a little flat. We have to like squeeze them from the side. And yeah, we don't like that. So we want our money back. And the store was like of the opinion of, the hell are you talking about? What? 7 months later, they go back to the store. They're like, yeah, we want to return it. So the issue is this. Apparently, and again, the store said that they had plenty of time on the showroom and they tested out a number of modular units before they settled on this one. And basically, the issue is that the cushions on this particular sofa are feather filled and therefore on occasion will compress and you have to refluff them.
Oh my gosh.
This is like the refund that they were asking for was like $5,600. That's what they paid for this sofa set. And they claim that they would not have purchased the sofa had they known it was stuffed with feathers. And Mr. Dobko said he was not prepared to continually fluff the cushions.
Oh, God's sake.
I mean, I would be embarrassed to even contemplate a lawsuit of this nature. Do you know what I have to go through to squeeze cushions from the side? Like a lot. Like
I broke my finger.
I had to do it like twice this month.
Did he break a nail?
Whatever. And what the whole court case basically hinged on was they found the paperwork of the warranty from the manufacturer that actually mentions the fact that this is a feather-filled modular unit that occasionally needs routine maintenance. And so the question then was the store neglectful for not fully revealing this aspect of the furniture? And then they had to determine whether or not the store was even aware of this aspect on the warranty. And pretty much you could see where the judge is like, of the opinion, are you kidding me with this? Look, I'm pay them $500 for mental anguish of fluffing and court costs. Get the hell out of my courtroom.
See, but this just incentivizes other idiots to do the same thing for a quick, 500, 1,000 Canadian dollar payout. And this drives me crazy. At what point do you just finally put your foot down and say no?
This would be one. This is the kind of crap that you're going to at some point in time see a warning label on a sofa. Careful. Additional fluffing may be required for this particular set of furniture.
It's insane. Now, admittedly, I've been in stores where feather pillows cost like $300 and $400. I've never shopped at those stores, but I've been in those stores. So maybe the pillows were a little on the pricier side. But here's the thing. These people have the Canada Goose. I mean, they know what goose down is. They know
Yes.
what feathers do in jackets and everything, and how they get compacted if you press them long enough. They live in Canada. Feather down is a staple of that place because it's so cold all the time. So you can't tell me they don't know how it acts.
I'm just going to say it. They're Canadians. And despite the fact that they invented hockey, they're soft. Almost as soft as their seat cushions. See what I did there? Okay, let's get into the world of science, because as we always like to do on our show is to broaden the mental horizons of our audience and edifying nature of things with basically what goes on in our world. And this is going to be a wildlife excursion we're going to take here involving entomological flatulence.
Insert "Why are you the way you are" gif right here.
This is like science and stuff.
Because
Yeah.
Not all science is likable.
Well, I'm unlike you. I'm not anti-science, so I would like to continue if I can, please.
M has a good question. Do all the good fluffers come from Canada?
Apparently not, since they seem resistant.
Okay, I gotta calm down.
Yeah, so we need to get him ready for the next scene. Are you ready for that? He's like, well, I'm not going to do that, eh?
Okay.
I'm not a boat to put
Just
that.
my input. Amanda Tapping is from Canada. Enough said.
Yeah, Canada has some really good things, like William Shatner. So yeah, Amanda Tapping. Yes.
Well, getting back to the science aspect of things, I noted your attempt to deflect from this, but we're
Go on with
forging
you.
through this.
Go on.
I am going to fill the air with my knowledge.
Oh God.
That'll take 2 seconds.
So, when it comes to passing gas, not many people would consider whether or not insects are of the capability of this particular physical feature. However, in order to do so, you do need to be a creature in which you produce some sort of excretions or leavings via the anus, and many of the insects do produce enough gut expulsion, as well as some who produce gas of this nature as well. The ones with more of a high fiber diet would be more prone to, let's just say, take flight as they break wind. Is that possible to say here?
I'm not saying a damn word.
And most of them don't really even expel methane to an appropriate amount that anybody would notice, at least from a nasal capacity. However, there are a few insects that can release emissions that serve a direct purpose. And when it comes to the carnivorous larvae of the beaded lacewings, these actually find a way inside of termite nests, and they feed on the creatures found therein. Here's the key, though. They manage to subdue their victims by aiming what is called a foul cloud of intoxicants at them. So the lacewing larva actually has deadly farts that they use to impact the termites so that they can then feed on them.
I'm going to give them a pass because I do like lacewings. They're very pretty, and the termites are extremely destructive. So hey, more power to the lacewing larva.
Yeah, I had this passed over to me, and I was just like, wait, really? We're talking about bug farts? Is that where we're going with?
Well, I mean, one of the founding fathers penned an essay that came to later be known as Fart Proudly. So there's that.
I mean, if it works, I guess.
Yeah, apparently it was more. It was a satirical essay he penned in 1781. It was Ben Franklin. He was like, "Yeah, science should find a way to make flatulence more palatable, so it's more publicly acceptable." This was while he was the ambassador to France, by the way.
Wow. Okay.
And now today we have the product Beano. Could it be a result of our founding farter?
Could have been.
See what I did
Could
there?
have been.
See what I did? Okay. I'm clever like
You-
that. All right.
Man, you very punny.
I despise them. That's the weird thing. I'm ashamed of myself there. Well, Aggie, you went at length about the goings on in your home state there of Texas. I figure I should probably weigh in, give some updates here from the fair land of the Sunshine State. Should I not?
Yeah, you got a couple of minutes.
Well, Florida man had a birthday.
Yes, he did.
Now, down in Key West, and I've known this since I was a wee tyke, one of the popular tourist, endeavors that you do when you go to Key West is ride on something they call the conch train. And this is I don't even know what they do anymore. When I was a kid, though, it was a thing. Like if you're going to Key West, you got to go on a conch train, and you sit on a conch train, and they drive you through the streets of Key West and point things out. Hey, that's where Hemingway lived. That's where they get drunk all the time at Captain Tony's. Hey, Jimmy Buffett got thrown out of this place. That kind of stuff. The conch train's a thing. So this just jumped off the page when I saw it. Dateline Key West. A man told police officers that today is my birthday. And he felt that was sufficient enough for them not to arrest him. Except, according to the police report on July 4, it was his birthday. They confirmed that when they checked his ID. They also confirmed that this guy was on meth.
Wow.
And he's facing 3 different criminal charges after he's accused of stealing one of the most famous vehicles on Key West, and that would be the conch train.
Oh, yeah.
This is, and again, Florida man always has layers. So he's on meth. He steals the conch train, and he didn't do this in the middle of the night. No. Took place at 11:30 in the morning on July the 4th. So the guy steals the conch train, and of course, it has a GPS tracker on board. And so they were relatively easy to find him on the confined space of the island that is Key West.
I mean, it was. I have to give him props because he sweet talked the guy into giving him the keys. It wasn't like he hotwired the thing.
No, but there's also this small problem where he left his vehicle behind at the location, the depot where these trains are located, and left the car running too. So like he was this jazzed about driving the conch train. He's like, son of a bitch, I know what I'm doing. It's my birthday. And just going for it. And so this is just typical for us. We have a birthday, so it's like I'm gonna have some meth and go steal the conch train. That's what I'm gonna do. All right, here for. And then this one I had to just cover because not only is this Florida man, but this took place just miles from my front door in the neighboring community of Tamarack and Lauderhill, Florida. Man was arrested after police say he broke into his neighbor's apartment upstairs from where he lives. And so after being called out by the resident of that particular location, the police listened to the individual there who suggested they go downstairs and speak to his neighbor, who the victim says broke into his home wearing nothing but Fruit of the Loom tidy whities and then proceeded to spray him with pepper spray. He said that he was attacked by his neighbor, 71-year-old of Lauderhill, living in the unit below him. And so the police went down and spoke to the individual there, who answered the door in his underwear and nothing else. That would be what we would call a tell in law enforcement. I think Rick would back me up on this. He said he did have some problems with his neighbor due to noise complaints, but otherwise didn't interfere with him. I didn't break into his home, and I certainly don't have any pepper spray. At which point the officer bent his head downward, not to check out the guy's junk, but to notice right next to the door jamb were 2 cans of pepper spray, one of which had clearly been fired, as there was plenty of debris on the nozzle that he could see.
Fun.
So the guy that answered the door in his Fruit of the Loom with 2 bottles of pepper spray denied breaking into his neighbor's house wearing underwear only and pepper spray.
Well, I think I know why people are so upset about alligator Alcatraz. It's not the fact that they're going to be in tent communities. It's the fact that they might be attacked by Florida man. That's what people are afraid of.
This could actually be a bigger threat than the
crocodiles and alligators and the pythons. And on that note,
in the surrounding area.
All right. Well, we're coming up to a close. So, Brad, tell us where we can find you.
You can read me on a daily basis over at townhall.com, where I've got my daily media column there. It's called Rift from the Headlines, where I dive into the dysfunction that is our mainstream media complex. I'm also a regular on the front page of Red State, where I've got a twice weekly podcast. It's called Liable Sources, going even further into the muck and mire of the media. And you can hear more of me on this network as well. Thursday night, I'm going to be here with Orty Packard. He and I are going to guide you through all the vital, important information from the entertainment spectrum on the culture shift. Alternate Thursdays, I'll be here with Paul Young from Screen Rant. We go through the dark side of Hollywood and bad movies on disasters in the making. And of course, every Tuesday here with the effervescent Aggie Rican on the Cocktail Lounge. And if you need more of me than that, come on, let's face it, you do. If you head over to Shitter, I am at Martini Shark. And what about you, Aggie? Where can people find more of your magnificence?
You can find me at Aggie Rican and at Aggie the Barkeep. Those are over on X. You can find me 8:30 p.m. Eastern Tuesday nights doing the Cocktail Lounge for the Everswap U. 8:30 p.m. Eastern Friday nights doing He Said, She Said with the awesome Rowdy Rick. The second Wednesday of every month, we get together for Toxic Masculinity at 8 p.m. And last but not least, the first Monday of every month, or at least hopefully we'll be back on track for that one next month, is Spirited Books at 8:30 p.m. with the esteemed alien Jeff. Thanks so much for joining us, y'all. We hope you have a lovely evening.
And now go raise a glass and look at the ceiling.